It is a gorgeous day for November here in the D.C. area. Temperature 48 degrees, a little cloud in the sky. Let's go down to Melody.
Thank you, Greg. Well, after making some critical comments about the Washington home fan base this week, Josh Norman decided to put his money where his mouth is, and he bought 50 tickets to distribute to fans under one condition. He wants them to be loud. He wants what he called pandemonium from his new cheering section. So he gave out 20 tickets on Twitter, and then on Friday he made his way down to the Dulles Town Center Mall to hand out the remaining 30 tickets. When I talked to him prior to the game, he said with a smile, hey, they challenged us, so why not challenge them? So he's doing his part in hopes of a home field advantage today here against the Texans, Greg.
Melanie, thank you. How unlike Josh to stir the pot a little bit here and there.
That's perfect for his personality. And when we talked to him on Friday, he was excited about getting down there and seeing who was going to turn out, and glad to see 50 people are getting a chance to come to the game.
Houston won the toss. They have deferred, and Danny Johnson is deep as the Texans kick it away, and we're underway. At the goal line, it's Johnson. Hit hard at the 20-yard line, and we'll see where they spot it, but A.J. Moore zeroing in for the special teams tackle. So here's Alex Smith. Smith in his 14th season. We're kind of teasing him about the ages of some of the veterans on this team, and he's right up there, but boy, he sure doesn't look. He says he feels great.
He does, and he's really taking care of himself. He feels good about where he is physically, and then the mental part, getting adjusted to this offense. Everybody, he's been in a West Coast system before, but just the terminology and getting everybody on the page because, as we mentioned in the open, the number of injuries they're dealing with.
Spreads the field on first down, quick pass to the outside, and oh, what a play. That's with an incomplete pass. Was that Kareem Jackson running up? Let's take a look at the defense on this play as you take a look at the offense at the bottom of your screen, but a quick reaction on defense by Houston.
Very quick reaction. A lot of it is trying to get the ball out of your hands quickly. That's what this offense is about, especially with the injuries at the offensive line. They don't all of a sudden want to give J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney and the rest of the defense an opportunity to start with a negative play.
That's Adrian Peterson in the backfield. And Peterson with his first carry of the day. And not much there. Look at the Houston defense at the bottom of your screen, which comes into this week in the NFL ranked number 9. And they only give up about 93 yards rushing a game.
It's going to be a hard task. Adrian Peterson has his hands full, as we mentioned, the injuries on the O-line, and then because they're so stout in the run defense.
Smith on the move, looking for someone to throw to, and has to throw it away. So 3 and out right off the bat for Washington.
Not the way you want to get things started if you're Washington, but smart decision by Smith once he gets outside the pocket just to throw it away. No need to try forcing something in and having a negative play to start things off.
Kicking it away will be Tress Way, the NFC Special Teams Player of the Week last week. DeAndre Carter, fair catch called for and made at the 27-yard line, and that will bring out the young man in his second season out of Clemson University, Deshaun Watson. As we talked about at the very beginning of the day, he's turned his game around from the beginning of the season.
Well, I think it was just a comfort zone. You're coming off of an injury, and what's it like, the speed of the game, the tempo of the game, getting the timing going, and also you're anxious, right? You want to get out there and prove everything right away, and I think as he got calmed down, as this team got calmed down, that's why they've been on such a roll here the last 6 weeks.
Lamar Miller starts in the backfield alongside Watson. Miller with the handoff. To about the 30. That Houston offense, boy, it's got so many weapons for Watson to choose from. DeAndre Hopkins is one. Demaryius Thomas, who is in his second game now after having come over from the Denver Broncos.
Well, look for him to get more involved as he gets more comfortable in the terminology and the way this offense is run. Last week, or the last game, he had 3 catches. I see him getting more involved today.
Watson. Little short pop over the middle, complete, and across the 35, close to the 36-yard line is Lamar Miller, and it'll be a third and looks like about 1. Mason Foster, part of that Washington defense that you see at the bottom of your screen. You know, that Washington defense also includes Ryan Kerrigan, who is, you know, we classify him as among those underrated football players in the league.
He is, and you know, you continue to see the impact that he has on games as they try and get a big stop here on 3rd down.
Little pass to this side of the field. That is complete, and for good yardage, finally bumped out of bounds inside the 40-yard line is the tight end Jordan Akins.
Well, Greg Manuska, the defensive coordinator for Washington, decides to bring pressure. They bring the blitz right to the side of where the play fake is going. Well, actually, the play fake was going opposite of it. The back recognizes it, comes over and gets the block in, and Houston able to take advantage of it, getting out to the flat and picking up a big 1st down.
Watson right back to the line of scrimmage, and the give is to Miller, and Miller running room up the middle to about the 25-yard line. DJ Swearinger coming up and making the stop. Swearinger drafted by Houston in the 2nd round back in 2013. And number 73, Zach Fulton, is being looked at on the field, so we'll take our first break with 12:23 to play in the 1st. Right guard Zach Fulton was able to walk off the field under his own power, went right into the blue medical tent there, and he is being looked at. Meanwhile, replaced by Greg Mance at right guard, and that leaves Houston at the moment, Trent, with just 1 spare lineman right now.
Well, that's the risk you take when you come in with 7 guys and you lose a guy early on. That's something we'll have to keep an eye on.
1st down. Lamar Miller. And Washington's defense swarming to the ball that time. Led by Jonathan Allen, the 2nd-year defensive end from Alabama.
The entire defensive line is able to get penetration. There is nowhere for the cutback. You can see as he's trying to make the cutback, there's nowhere to go as it collapses. You know, we talked about Houston's defense, how they don't give up many yards. The rush defense for Washington is 5th in the NFL, only giving up 91 yards on the ground.
Loss of 3 makes it 2nd and 13. Watson. That's complete. And finally dumped out of bounds is the rookie out of Texas Tech, Keke Coutee.
Well, an excellent job by Jordan Akins, the tight end, blocking upfield. That's what gets the 1st down. Good decision by Deshaun Watson to dump it off, not force it downfield. Watch the block coming in from the right side of your screen. That is what able to get him past the sticks and get the 1st down.
So 1st down from the 12. Miller. And Miller's going to lose a couple. Ryan Anderson, Ryan Kerrigan combining on the stop.
Well, I just gave Akins praise for getting a block to get the 1st down. He doesn't get any praise on that attempted block at Anderson because Anderson ran right around him and made the contact behind the line of scrimmage.
Trent Green giveth and taketh away.
I was like, man, I praised him, and then all of a sudden, you know, that happens. So it happens, right?
Deshaun Watson on 2nd and 12. Rolls. Throws. Complete to the near side. And this is Coutee again. And Coutee to about the 5. So here is Houston in the red zone for the first time today. And that Washington defense is only the best in the NFL.
That's incredible when you consider only 71% of the time when teams get down there, they're getting points. Now, obviously, that's field goals or touchdowns, but just the fact they're keeping them to that tells me that they're getting turnovers down in the red zone as well.
3rd and 3. 3 yards for a 1st down, 5 yards for a touchdown. Watson with time, throwing back to the end zone for Hopkins, incomplete. Covered by Josh Norman, as we expect he will be all day long.
Well, and you can see them talking. They know each other now. These two have gone against each other in the past. 2015, And Josh Norman talked to us on Friday about when they're in man-to-man, he's going to be in his pocket. You can see he's pumped up there. A few words to say. We asked if he was going to get talking with him. He said, well, it may happen.
It might, yes. So here's Kymie Fairbairn lining up a 23-yard field goal attempt. And the Houston Texans do put points on the board. 3 of them to start things off. 2 first-place teams in their respective divisions, and Houston has the early 3-0 lead.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Macy's, Dell, and the XPS 13 with Dell Cinema, and by Ford. We build things we're proud of.
That, of course, the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. Construction of that building began all the way back in 1793. 68-yard drive in 10 plays and 3 points on the board for the Houston Texans. And for Washington, near side of the field, running it out is Danny Johnson. Johnson to the 20. There's a penalty marker behind him as he's bumped out of bounds short of the 25-yard line. Our referee today is Alex Kemp.
During the return, holding, return team, number 46, half the distance of the goal line. Washington keeps the ball first down.
Capri Bibbs guilty. And as we said, our friend Bruce Arians under the weather. Sitting at home, it didn't stop him from sending his game plan in, Trent.
Greg, he wasn't sick enough to do this. You can see Houston, his game plan, get DeAndre Hopkins going early and often, and then defensively stop the run and make Washington one-dimensional, make them throw. And then for Washington, you got to get some play-action chunks. You can't just consistently move against this defense. Make number 4 beat you from the pocket. Don't let Deshaun Watson get out in space. Coach's game plan.
Peterson out to about the 13-yard line. Melanie, what are you hearing?
Well, Greg, just an update on Texans right guard Zach Fulton. He spent about a minute in the medical tent before going into the locker room. He has a shoulder injury and is questionable to return, but good news is when he missed 2 games earlier in the season with an ankle injury, Greg Mans did a solid job in his absence, Greg.
And we'll have to do so again today, it appears. Here's Alex Smith. Thank you, Melanie. Sideline pass. It is caught. Let's see if he's in or out of bounds. They will rule him in. Michael Floyd with the grab.
Well, now they're waving it off. Watch as he goes to the ground. He gets both feet down. As he goes to the ground, the ball pops out.
Good footwork.
It was initially called a catch, and then as the two got together to talk about it, they waved it off.
Nice footwork by Michael Floyd, the 7th-year wideout from Notre Dame.
So you get both feet down. With the new catch rule, there's still some gray area as to, I don't think that constitutes a football move or a 3rd foot down. I know the 3rd foot ends up coming down, but I don't think you challenge this. I think it would stay an incomplete.
So it's 3rd and 6. Alex Smith 0 for 3 throwing the ball to start the day. Smith with time, throwing over the middle. He's got his man, and that is Floyd again. And the ball came loose. And he is going to be whistled down at the 31-yard line.
Excellent job by the offensive line. We talked about the patchwork offensive line. Clowney comes all the way from the left, gets shoved to the right. Smith wanted to scramble out to his right and realized that both Clowney and Watt were over to that side. Excellent job keeping his eyes upfield as he slid in the pocket. Complete to Floyd over the middle for the first down.
I'm sure Alex Smith appreciates that kind of time. Here's Peterson. And Peterson finally wrestled down after a pickup of about 3, 34. Take a look at this. This is one of those quirks of the game, Trent, when
That's hard to believe.
When Washington scores first, they're 6-0. When their opponent scores first, they're 0-3. Not a single lead change over the season.
You're not saying right. We want everybody to stay in and watch the game. This isn't indicative of what's going to happen today, right? We'll have some back and forth going on. But that's hard to believe after 9 games that's what's happening.
On 2nd and 7, this is Peterson again. And Peterson not finding too much running room early on.
Well, you can see what the Texans are trying to do when they got to wrap him up. They know that just one guy is not going to bring him down, or it's not going to happen very often where one guy is going to bring him down. So that was a discussion I had with defensive coordinator Romeo Crennel about the number of bodies that had to swarm when the ball was in 2-6's hands.
Third and 5.
No, Peter, 3-2, Peter, 3-2.
This time Capri Bibbs is in the backfield
3-2.
with Alex Smith. Smith throwing over the middle and complete. In and out of the hands of the veteran Vernon Davis, and Andre Hal came up to make the hit and dislodge the ball.
Great pass by Smith up the seam. Vernon Davis, it's right on the money, but watch Hal come in with his right arm and punches it out. Instead of going for the big hit, he instead watches this right arm as he reaches across and punches at the ball, able to make it an incompletion.
DeAndre Carter drops back for the punt. And from the 15-yard line, dodges a tackler, looking for a way up the sideline and makes it all the way across the 30. 6:28 to play. First quarter, 3-0 Houston. A reminder for you, tonight on CBS, a little faith goes a long way. Don't miss a new episode of God Friended Me tonight after 60 minutes only. CBS. Houston at their own 31-yard line. And Deshaun Watson under center, play fake, throwing up the seam. He's got his man. Across the 45 is DeAndre Hopkins for a first down.
The play fake is something that has really come into play for Deshaun Watson, especially in this 6-game winning streak. You look at that 0-3 start, he had no touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Now he's got 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and 20. DeAndre Hopkins, 20 receiving touchdowns over the last 2 years is the most in the NFL in that time frame.
Another play fake. And this time to the sideline, and that's complete. There's a penalty marker in the backfield as Ryan Griffin makes the catch and he gets wrestled out of bounds. Alex Kemp will give us the latest.
Illegal use of the hands in the face. Defense, number 97. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
That penalty is on the rookie nose tackle, Tim Settle, 5th-round pick out of Virginia Tech.
Oh, yeah, right in the middle. I circled up the wrong one. There we go. What's the old saying, Greg? Low man wins. There's nobody low on that one.
Lamar Miller with running room around the left side. Burst through for a first down and moves the ball inside the Washington 35 to the 33.
Excellent job up front by the Texans creating lanes, and Lamar Miller doesn't get touched till down by the first down marker. We mentioned 2 of the last 3 games, he's had 100 yards or more, providing great balance for Deshaun Watson in the offense.
Watson making sure everybody's on the same page. 3 tight ends on the field now for Houston. Another play fake. Throwing this side of the field, and the catch is made by DeAndre Hopkins. Update time. Let's get you to New York. JB and Phil.
Lions could use a win.
Yeah, they sure could. Practice in the snow this week. Toughened them up. Kerryon Johnson, 8 yards for the run, a touchdown, 6 carries, 42 yards. Let's throw it back to the guy that loves cold weather, Greg Gumbel, Trent Green, and Melanie Collins.
No doubt, no question.
I heard that. Toughened you up in the snow? Really? Thank you, guys. Here's Lamar Miller, left side, inside the 25 to about the 24, maybe even the 23. Mason Foster with the tackle. So here's a 3rd and 1. And so far, Trent, Houston has shown an ability to be able to run the ball and throw it effectively.
Well, they've done a really good job underneath center. When Deshaun Watson's been underneath center, they've been effective with the pass game because they've gotten a lot of play-action passes out of it. This time in the shotgun on 3rd and 1.
Alfred Blue, bullying his way inside the 20 to about the 16-yard line, and that's a 1st down. That Washington defense on 3rd and 1 now allowing 15 conversions in 15 attempts.
Well, talking to Ryan Kerrigan on Friday, I asked him what's the difference whether Lamar Miller's back there or Alfred Blue in terms of what they like to do offensively. He said, we got to treat them as if they're the same player.
Up the sideline, caught in the touchdown by Hopkins. What a throw and what a grab by DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, they had a combination route over to that side, and Josh Norman started going to the inside where the receiver and lost is contained to the outside. Watch the change release. They go up. See how Josh Norman collapses to the inside, and he doesn't get back outside in time to get the hand on it as a touchdown to Hopkins right by the goal line. You'll see at the bottom right of your screen the release, great protection for Watson, and then Norman just too late getting back to the outside.
The 5th straight game with a touchdown catch for DeAndre Hopkins. Fairbairn with the extra point, and it is good. 3 minutes, 15 seconds remaining to be played in the 1st. The Texans are celebrating a 10-point lead.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Walt Disney World Resort. And by Progressive Insurance, handing off big savings to you.
Certainly still reason to celebrate all year round. In fact, salute to service. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C., which honors service members in the U.S. Armed Forces who fought in the Vietnam War. DeAndre Hopkins with the touchdown catch for the 5th straight game. That ties the franchise record.
You know, we've talked about the numbers he's put up over the years, and it kind of goes untalked about. And you think about the different quarterbacks he's had throughout that entire time as well.
Danny Johnson will take the touchback and will start from the 25-yard line. So as we mentioned, these Houston Texans started the season 0-3, now looking for win number 7 in a row, which would tie the longest win streak after starting 0-3. Held by the New York Giants back in 1925.
Just the other day, right? 1925, that's incredible. That's incredible.
And there weren't as many games back in 1925.
Yeah, Washington needs to get something going here. It goes without saying. They need to get some first downs, start moving the ball, let their defense regroup a little bit, change the field position.
Byron Marshall just activated. He's in the backfield for the first time today, and here's his first carry. And finds a little bit of room before he's dragged down at the 29-yard line. Brian Peters making the tackle. Well, you know, you mentioned Romeo Crennel. He's been around a long time. I don't imagine there's much happening on the field he hasn't seen before.
Oh, when you consider everything he's seen and done as a coach.
Wide open on the near side of the field is Jordan Reed, the tight end, for a first down. He's a great teacher, isn't he?
He is. He's an excellent teacher. Watch the block here on Clowney to give Alex Smith the time. And then Jordan Reed wide open, excellent pass, gets it to the outside. And Reed leading the team in receiving and receiving yards coming into today.
So Marshall still in there, first down in Houston territory for Washington. Smith throwing outside, complete, and looking for the first down and getting it is Maurice Harris. So Alex Smith finding some receivers open for the first time today.
Well, and Maurice Harris, he's one of those receivers, but not a lot of footballs come their way. As you see, 30th in the NFL in terms of wide receiver receptions. As I said, Jordan Reed is leading the team, and Chris Thompson, who's not playing today, the running back, is their second leading receiver.
Alex Smith throwing sideline. It is grabbed over there. The question, was he inbound? Maurice Harris was not. As we watched the Washington practice the other day, Trent, you made note of the fact that a lot of 3 tight end sets.
Well, and that's why I thought we'd maybe get to a little bit more of that as this game progresses. There's some packages you can do with 3 tight end sets that cause matchup problems and personnel issues, because the defense is going to respond accordingly to the personnel that you have on the field as an offense. And I think they could get more to that as this game progresses to get to some of those packages and take advantage of those matchups.
2nd and 10. Smith pulls it down, looks for running room, shovels it ahead, and that's incomplete. Intended for Jordan Reed, but Alex Smith shoveled that into a lot of traffic.
He did. That's not a normal Alex Smith thing here to take a risky. He tries flipping it forward. It looks like it's open. Reed ends up taking a hit late. It's just tipped away.
Brennan Scarlett.
Scarlett got a hand on it.
So here's 3rd and 10. Smith under pressure, and J.J. Watt got there. The ball is on the ground. And we have penalty markers downfield in the secondary.
Well, that would be J.J. Watt's 10th sack on the year, and he was tied for the NFL lead with forced fumbles, but I think this is going to be against Houston in the secondary. 2 flags down.
Well, the quarterback still had the ball. Holding. Defense. Number 32. 5-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
It's Tyrann Mathieu.
Watt to the outside. It's amazing how fast he is for how big he is. Mathieu trying to cover Reed, and pretty clear that it was a holding.
You can't
call.
hold like
Right.
that, can you, Trent?
Not when you go to make a cut and you see the entire shoulder pad shift forward.
So the Texans give Washington a break, and it is a first down now at the Houston 29. Back to the ground game with Adrian Peterson, who's going to lose yardage on the play. Clowney along with Brian Peters combined to make the stop as we get to the 1-minute mark remaining here in the first quarter.
Well, and that penalty was so critical because on that fumble, that sack fumble, Washington did recover it, so they would have gotten the ball back, but they were knocked out of field goal range and would have had to punt. Now they get an opportunity to go down and get some points.
Smith going over the middle, diving catch made at about the 15-yard line by Trey Quinn, the rookie out of SMU.
Well, that's his first catch of his career. You mentioned the rookie out of SMU. He's a slot guy. That's what he did at SMU, working the middle of the field. Excellent job securing that. He gets a little excited for his first catch.
As well he should.
Having some fun out there.
Now, into the red zone. And against this Houston red zone defense, opponents have scored on 43 straight red zone drives. Peterson, hole on the right side, spins his way inside the 10 to about the 9.5. And with that, we come to the end of the first quarter. Houston 10, Washington driving. We'll be right back. This was during our commercial break. Talk about one classy guy to another. Adrian Peterson and J.J. Watt saying hi to each other after 15 minutes of play.
Well, and Adrian Peterson lives in the Houston area, so I wonder how often, if at all, those two come across each other in the offseason.
It could happen.
It could happen.
Meanwhile,
definitely you could see the respect for each other's game.
2nd and 4. And there is AP in the backfield. 2nd and 4 as we start the second quarter. Keeper. Alex Smith to the 5 and bumped out at about the 3. Justin Reed, the rookie. Knocked him out, but it'll be 1st and goal.
What's the adjustment? Alex Smith actually gets hit in the face mask and the helmet by Adrian Peterson's shoulder pad. You see him as he's running out there, he's adjusting his helmet so he can see better.
And you know who took the fake and went after Adrian Peterson? J.J. Watt.
I would say between those two, and Alex is a good runner, and he's been a good runner for most of his career, but you're going to want to focus on 26 in that part of the field.
1st and goal.
No. After 25.
Peterson to the outside, to the end zone for the touchdown.
I'll tell you what, that's not the cut of a 33-year-old. Did you see the way he bounced outside? He saw that it was taken away. A jump cut to the outside, and then the speed and acceleration to get to the end zone. Hand up to the left. I'm sorry, Greg. It amazes me.
Career rushing touchdown number 104, and he ties former Washington running back John Riggins for number 6 all-time in that category.
Well, Watt comes through. He gets penetration in the backfield, but it was Justin Reed, the safety that was coming up and was in position, unblocked, but by the jump cut to the outside, he gets pinned to the inside, and Peterson takes it in.
Dustin Hopkins' extra point attempt is good. 10-7 Houston. We're back in 30 seconds after this from Lowe's. There is the man known as AP, headed for the Hall of Fame the minute he is eligible. And here's the list of most rushing touchdowns in National Football League history. And there is Peterson tied with John Riggins at 104. Next on the list, the great Jim Brown. John Riggins here in the stadium today.
And every single guy that he's listed with there is in the Hall of Fame. So it goes without saying, and as AP closes in on 13,000 yards rushing, he'll be in Canton someday.
So the touchback will start at the 25-yard line. Let's go back to that touchdown pass to DeAndre Hopkins.
We talked about it before, but it was Josh Norman as he's collapsing on Demaryius Thomas. He's running a skinny post up the numbers. Norman is a little late getting to the outside. You talk about a game of inches. As we look at this from the 360 view, you see how close he is to getting back out and tipping the ball away. But because of the accuracy and the velocity on the ball, he wasn't able to get there. And Hopkins scored for the 5th game in a row of receiving touchdown.
Hopkins with his 8th touchdown catch of the season, and we started with Alfred Blue with a pickup of about 5 or so. Going back to DeAndre Hopkins, people we crushed it so far, Trent, that he is one of the more underrated players in the National Football League. 13 catches last season, led the NFL for touchdown. Under pressure, Watson lost the football.
He's got to learn when the pocket's collapsing. I know he's a dynamic player that can get outside the pocket and make things happen. You need to protect the football. As he was getting brought down, you could see the ball. It was just in his single hand. He was waving it around. And
Sunil Kelemete, the left guard, is on the turf. We'll be back. Sunil Kelemete was the injured player. He is in that blue medical tent. And here's how it happened, Trent.
We talked about the ball security. Deshaun Watson gets the ball in his left hand and watches Kerrigan falls into the back of Clemente's legs. So now all of a sudden the Houston Texans are down to no more reserves. The rookie Rankin came in. He's a backup tackle. He's now playing left guard. And as we know, Mans is already in for Fulton, who went out earlier in the game.
Here's Watson. Watson throwing. It is tipped. Intercepted. Picked off by Mason Foster. And Washington will take over.
Watson's done an excellent job the last 3 weeks. Has not had an interception, but this one is a bad mistake. You can't float the ball down the middle of the field, especially that late into the progression, and not think something bad's going to happen. I know he's getting hit as he threw it. Excellent response by the Redskins defense. There's 3 players around the ball, and as that tip happens, Foster is able to bring in the interception.
Deshaun Watson had not thrown an interception in the last 3 games. And Washington takes over at the Houston 45.
Talk about a change in momentum that happened here. Think about it. Texans were up 10-0. Washington was moving down. They had the sack fumble, but because of the penalty, they kept that last drive going. Washington able to punch it in for a touchdown. Now after the turnover, they got the ball right here near midfield with an opportunity to go in and tie it or take the lead.
Peterson in the backfield. Peterson with the football. And wrapped up by J.J. Watt as he hit the line of scrimmage. They'll give him a yard on the play. 2nd and 9.
Backup tight end Jeremy Sprinkle had the opportunity there to block J.J. Watt on the run, and that's a tough task right there. If you're one-on-one with J.J. Watt and the run is coming right at you, that's a big responsibility. And
is that really a one-man job?
No, it's not.
Really, Coach? Marshall in the backfield now on 2nd and 9. Smith looks left, going up the side as a man open and incomplete. In and out of the hands of the veteran Vernon Davis.
Goes without saying, that's a huge drop. Would have given him field position in the red zone. Alex Smith was just talking to us on Friday about the speed that Vernon Davis has, the type of shape that he's in, considering this far into his career. But he said if you line up this entire team to do a 40-yard dash, Vernon Davis is going to be one of the fastest guys on the team. That time able to get behind the defense, but not able to bring in the catch.
Happens to the best of them. 3rd and 9. And Alex Smith calls timeout with the play clock winding down. First timeout used by Washington here in the first half. So here's a chance for us to tell you about what happened on Tuesday. Washington hosted its 16th annual Harvest Fest. Owner Daniel Snyder, members of the organization, joined more than 150 volunteers to distribute Thanksgiving food baskets to 2,500 local residents in need. The event was held right here at FedEx Field in partnership with local hunger relief organization, Capital Area Food Bank. Nice thing to do.
Big 3rd down coming up for Washington, and really, if you think about where they are from a field standpoint, if you get 5 or 6 yards here, you're talking 4-down territory, so you just want to get a chunk of this back.
Capri Bibbs in the backfield. Smith going down at the 48-yard line. Tyrann Mathieu.
Matthew's going to be moving around. This is his 3rd sack on the season. They like to move bodies around. You can see they bring a 6-man rush. Make it confusing for personnel and blocking.
DeAndre Carter is deep for the punt. And at the 10-yard line, he's going to let it bounce, and it's going to take a roll inside the 5-yard line, and Houston will start in a deep hole when we come back with 11:29 to play in the first half. 10-7 Texans.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Honda. Hurry into the Happy Honda Days sales event today. Walmart. Light up Christmas at Walmart. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
A few looks at the International Spy Museum in Washington, D.C., which features the largest collection of international espionage artifacts ever placed on public display. This is Lamar Miller. Miller breaking free, 15-20, and out to the 25-yard line. That'll get you out of a hole in a hurry. Clinton Dix making the tackle after a 21-yard pickup.
Lamar Miller's just going to come and he's just going to wind it back down. But watch the blocking up front. The way they're able to seal it. This is just you're going to read and you're going to just here it is. Got the guard pulling around. All of a sudden, next thing you know, it's sealed and you get a big gain.
Seven carries, 47 yards for Miller, and he's adding to it here. Up to about the 27, maybe the 28-yard line. Let's go down to Melanie.
Greg, update on Texans left guard Sunil Clemente. He spent about 5 minutes in the blue medical tent before going off into the locker room for further evaluation. He has a left ankle injury and his return is questionable. And Zach Fulton, the right guard, still questionable as well, Greg.
All right, Melanie. So as we have said, that has the Houston offense down to 5 eligible linemen, and they're all in the game right now. On second down, Watson running out of time, looking for running room, shakes off one tackle, rolls forward close to the 30-yard line. Zach Brown hit him. So when you're having injuries and an iffy front line, what's the better thing to do, run or throw?
I would think the throw, although we've just seen Lamar Miller break off 2 big runs with backup offensive linemen in there, and even the one run had Rankin, who's the rookie tackle playing guard. He ends up pulling on a counter move. So for a guy that doesn't get a lot of work, you would think that passing protection, because you can zone it off. You're not all in man-to-man across the board, especially against a team that's really good in stopping the run. But they've shown some effectiveness. I would think that the protection would be an easier thing to transition to.
3rd and 6, Watson throwing incomplete. Kiki QT covered well on the far side of the field, and the punting unit will come on.
Both Hopkins and Norman asking the official for some help. Norman talked to us a little bit on Friday about DeAndre is excellent at using his hands in route running and getting little advantages along the way. I said, are you going to talk to the officials to try and set that up? He's like, no, it'll just take care of itself. Well, you saw both of them run over.
A little shorter than expected punt, bounces out of bounds. It's going to give great field position to Washington. A reminder coming up, the Verizon Halftime Report. JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, Coach Cowher, our latest scores and highlights coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. You heard Phil Simms take a shot at me about Poland. This is a man who, in the middle of winter, opens up his hotel room windows.
How did you two manage in the booth together?
Roughly. Very roughly.
Because I know you don't like being cold. They've made that very clear.
Pretty sure Phil was born in an igloo. First down.
Wait.
From the 40-yard line, quick pass to the far side of the field. That is caught by the tight end, Jordan Reed, and Reed close to a first down. Let's get you an update. JB and the aforementioned Phil Simms.
A luck strike.
Yes, it is. Down the field, 68 yards to T.Y. Hilton. What a beautiful throw by Andrew Luck. They are dominating Tennessee. Indianapolis 17, Tennessee nothing. Back to Greg, Trent, and Melanie.
All right, Phil, JB, thank you very much. The incomplete pass to Jordan Reed will leave Alex Smith and Washington with a 3rd and 1.
When you think about now with the Texans defensively, last series they had the interception, so Washington started on the Houston 45, and they were able to keep them and get the sack and force the punt. Now all of a sudden with the short punt, Washington gets great field position once again. If Houston can get a stop here and force another punt, that would be 2 incredible series in a row for their defense.
Three spot.
Third and short yardage, you think tailor-made for Adrian Peterson, and it is AP, and look at him burst through across midfield to the 45 and a first down. To a man, Washington personnel told us what an incredible job he did coming in here and getting ready for the season.
Well, he just said, first it started with his workout when he came in, and he said, I want to work out. I want to show you guys what I've been working on, and what a tremendous career he's put together. His work ethic, and he comes into the meeting. I don't know what his body fat is, but it's not very much, I'll tell you that.
This is Peterson again. Ducks outside, then back inside. Loose ball. Houston says they have it. Let's see. They don't.
I believe that's Peterson's third fumble on the year. Sometimes you try running as hard as he does, and the ball gets knocked out. McKinney, it looks like, is the one that's going to come in here and punch it out. Washington lucky to get the ball back. He mentioned to us, though, on Friday, he said, I haven't been able to bench in 3 weeks because my shoulder. So it's like I finally get, I feel like I'm losing something. I said, yes, you look like you're shrinking up there, Adrian. Good thing you can finally lift again.
Down to nothing. 2nd and 6.
Wait.
Incomplete. Alex Smith under a lot of pressure. Brennan Scarlett coming in from his blind side.
Scarlett comes in clean off the backside, the blind side for Alex Smith. He knows he has to get rid of the ball. There's nobody there. There's a receiver there, so he's just trying to throw the ball away, knowing he has an unblocked defender about to blow him up.
So it is 3rd and 6. Byron Marshall again in the backfield. Jumping and jumping back was Clowney. And Smith gonna run it. First down, and slides down at about the 32. Alex Smith has always been able to run the ball effectively.
And he was smart with it. As you see the pressure coming up the field, the Texans gave a great look. They had a bunch of bodies in the middle of the field. They looked like they're going midfield close, one safety high. Watch Joseph as he goes over the top. Alex jumps up and goes after him, has a few words to say, and some of the Washington players come up and have something to say as well.
So the line of scrimmage to 33. And a first down. Play fake to Peterson. Alex Smith throwing far side. It is incomplete. Pass intended for Harris and covered by Jonathan Joseph.
I will say this, though, Greg, going back to that last play, that's how the game has changed for the better. A few years ago, that would have been a hit. So not only would Alex Smith have probably been injured on a hit like that, but there wouldn't have been a penalty. It was nothing wrong. But with the rule changes and the safety issues that have come into play, excellent job by Joseph not completing that hit the way he could have, even though they got into a little jawing after the play. But I think just the recognition, the implementation of the rule, it has changed the game for better.
Alex Smith now 5 out of 15 throwing for 79 yards. And a throw here again, this time to the near side, and that is complete. And Joseph hits Jordan Reed. What a delight it was talking with Jonathan Joseph last night. The man eats nothing normal. Nothing normal.
He has a teenager's diet.
Oh, burgers and fries.
An occasional chicken, although he says he doesn't like it. He's like, I prefer pizza.
In 13 years in the NFL. Penalty markers fly, and looks like maybe Nsekhe.
False start. Offense, number 79. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
That's who it is. Yeah, we were throwing foods out. Well, do you eat turkey? Nope. Steak? Nope. Yeah, never had a salad.
We're not recommending that to anyone listening to this game. Somehow Jonathan Joseph has decided that, has made a career out of that diet, and it's worked for him. So
Pasta is completely foreign to him. 3rd and 11, and all kinds of movement on the offensive line. Jadeveon Clowney was in there. Let's see who they're going to blame. Alex Smith pleading his case. And the clock is moving. They're finally trying to get it to stop, and they do.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense, number 90. 5-yard penalty. It remains 3rd down. Please reset the game clock to 5:26. 5:26.
So they do get Clowney for this.
Clowney's going to jump. Offensive line reacts. Easy call.
So it's a 3rd and 6 as you take a close look at Romeo Crennel, defensive coordinator for Houston. Washington 2 for 2 on 3rd down on this drive. Smith. Complete. 20 and out of bounds, close to the 15-yard line. That's the rookie Trey Quinn once again.
Quinn's lined up to the outside in the bunch formation. It's just a quick release where you got 3 different levels that puts pressure on the defense. Quinn running the underneath short route. Accurate throw allows yards after catch, which gets the 1st down.
This is Marshall. And Marshall hits a stone wall at the 15-yard line. It'll be 2nd down as we duck under 4.5 to play. I do believe Washington, for the first time this year, is threatening a lead change in a game.
That's an amazing number that we put up earlier. The fact that they're 6-0 when they score first. So the fact that they're in this position, they took advantage of the good field position. You know, the Houston defense was able to hold up after the interception, but after the short punt, Washington, now you just mentioned how they've been able to convert 3rd downs, move this thing down into scoring range.
2nd and 9. Straight drop for Alex Smith. And going to take off and run it out of bounds. And we have a flag down in the end zone. And this looks like it's going to go against the Texans.
Holding. Defense, number 25. Foul occurred during a run play. We'll add 5 yards at the end of the play. 1st down.
Kareem Jackson making contact way up the field and shoving Doxson out of bounds, out of the end zone.
It's funny how those flags can kill momentum on both offense or defense.
Yeah, that was a big penalty there because now all of a sudden you got 1st and goal.
And Adrian Peterson back in the lineup. Smith still has it. Being chased and throws incomplete. Put the pylon at the goal line. It'll be 2nd and goal.
The size of J.J. Watt, the way he gets upfield, his speed that he has to put the pressure on Alex Smith so that he can't get outside, it's amazing. Watch as he shoots through, he swims by, he gets upfield, and just the speed at that size, it's remarkable.
.326 to play, 1st half.
Hey, no, Lucy.
Smith, straight up the middle. To the 9, Whitney Merciless with the stop. Loss of a yard or so, and it's 3rd and goal now.
They changed personnel, bringing Reed back out on the field. That's who they tend to utilize down in the red zone.
Remember this Houston red zone defense. Opponents have now scored on 44 straight red zone drives. That goes all the way back to last season. Play clock winding down to 5. Smith to the end zone. Intercepted! Picked off by Justin Reed, the rookie, up the sideline, and he is going to go! 101 yards.
What a turn of events. Looked like the Redskins were going to be in position to either get the field goal and tie it up or even take the lead. Great moment for Justin Reed, the rookie, getting a big interception return for touchdown. Look at the confusion, though, between Alex Smith and Jordan Reed. Watch Reed as he releases. He comes up, he pushes out, but he stops, and he pivots back to the inside. Alex Smith throwing it to the back of Jordan Reed's helmet, a stop route, which is a set route that you try and do, because a lot of times you consider the tight ends going to the corner, but this time you say, you know what, we're going to run a corner stop. You get a penalty on the extra point.
Play the try down.
5-yard penalty on the extra point, but you're throwing it, it's a timing deal, so you know that he's going to stop, so you're throwing it right at the back of his head. So Alex is anticipating him turning around in that spot. Jordan Reed, realizing where the defender is, turns around but pivots back to the inside. Reed takes advantage of it. Reed for the Texans takes advantage of it and takes it the distance.
Extra long, extra point here. And it is good. 2:23 to play in the first half, and Houston jumps to a 10-point lead at 17-7. We're back in half a minute after this from Walmart. There's Alex Smith, who just threw his 4th interception of the season in Houston's defense. First in the red zone takeaway since October of last year. So much for that streak of not being able to stop anyone, huh?
That's a heck of a way to stop that streak, too. That's, like I said, that can completely swings the momentum the way this game was going.
And this one will be fielded inside the 5 by Danny Johnson. And Johnson brought down before he reaches the 15-yard line. Johnson, Batamosi. Let's go back to the pick. And Trent, I was just asking you who's at fault here.
Well, I always, and I don't want to hear about the fact I'm defending a quarterback, but a lot of times you're running the corner route. Well, this time you're going to do an out and then you're sitting down. So as a quarterback, from a timing standpoint, you're throwing it right at the back of the head of the receiver. Because it has to be in the red zone, everything happens faster and there's confined spaces. So you rep it over and over and over again. Before you come out of the cut, you're throwing it right at the back of their head, so you know where that spot's going to be. As you saw at the top of that route, that's where Alex had the ball already in the air. Reed, as he pivots out of it, slides back to the inside. You can understand why, because he saw where the defender was, but from a timing standpoint, you leave your quarterback hanging.
So as a receiver, are you supposed to read the guy that you're going up against and adjust what you're doing?
Certain plays and certain routes, but when you're on a timing route, especially in the red zone, you can't improvise.
We come up to 2 minutes to play. 2 minutes to play here in Landover, 17-7, Houston.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. And by the Spark Cash Card from Capital One.
A few shots of the Korean War Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C., which commemorates the sacrifices of the 5.8 million Americans who served in the U.S. Armed Services during the Korean War. 2 minutes to play. Washington with 2 timeouts. And from their own 13-yard line. Alex Smith. And that's complete to the 20-yard line. That's Capri Bibbs out of the backfield. We were talking during the break. You said Washington's got to put some points on the board here.
Well, and that's why I don't have a problem with that pass. You're only getting 6 yards, 6 yards on the completion. You have 2 minutes to go, your couple timeouts. Just start utilizing the whole field. If things don't work out, you don't want to give Houston the ball back with an opportunity to score. So, yes, you're trying to get a big chunk here, but you also want to make sure from a timing-wise you're handling things properly.
Smith now throws, and that is intercepted. That's picked off by Brennan Scarlett.
Now that one's on Alex Smith. That's just trying to do too much. Scarlett is in coverage. They're trying to improvise from a route standpoint, and tremendous play by Scarlett in this defense. You can see they're posing here every few minutes, unfortunately for the Washington fans, but what a great interception. Looks like Alex Smith isn't happy about something as he comes back. Steps up in the pocket. He's able to get some time. Buys to the outside. Scarlett undercuts it. Incredible interception there. One-handed to bring it in.
And now it's Houston threatening to put more points on the board before they go into the locker room. Watson under pressure, and Watson goes down. Preston Smith, number 94.
Well, and you have to remember, not only do they have the 3 timeouts, but they get the ball coming out first in the second half. They won the toss and deferred, so now you can get the double dip. You can get the score at the end of the half and get an opportunity to score coming out of halftime. Watson never officially goes down until right there when his knee hits the ground, so the play wasn't blown dead until right there at the end.
Coming up on 45 seconds to play, Watson with all kinds of time, and then throws to Lamar Miller out of the backfield, and he's out of bounds at about the 31-yard line, maybe the 30. 41 seconds on the clock. Remember, Houston, as you said, all 3 timeouts remaining. Well, Alex, with 3 picks in his first 9 games this season, has thrown 2 here in his last 3 plays.
Yeah, not very characteristic of his game, not having interceptions. That's what he prides himself on, not making those big mistakes.
Known for protecting the football. 3rd and 19. And they're going to run it with Miller. And Miller to about the 26. And we get a timeout called on the field by Washington. So this will set up the Houston field goal. And a reminder once again, the Verizon halftime report. JB, Phil, Nate Boomer, Coach Bill Cowher will have all the scores and highlights coming up on the Verizon halftime report. Certainly hope our friend Bruce Arians continues to recover well, and we'll have him back with us in Indianapolis next week.
Hope you're getting better, Bruce.
Well, if he's not getting better, Chris will kick him out anyway. He'll be with us.
Yes.
Chris is Mrs. Bruce Arians. Here's a 44-yard attempt. Fairbairn was good from 23. He hooked this one.
Well, that's why you call the timeout. If you're Jay Gruden, you're hoping that something like that happens. You're going to get some field position now, and with 1 timeout still in your pocket, 31 seconds to go as we take another look at the kick. This has a little bit too much draw on it as he pulls it left. Now Washington, and kind of a back and forth momentum here these last couple minutes of the game, but now Washington has a chance to go down and try and get into field goal range, or take a shot in the end zone.
Yeah. DJ Swearinger on the sideline. By the way, that 100-yard interception return, the longest against Washington in franchise history.
That's a lot of franchise history, too.
Oh, yeah. Smith rolls, throws, complete, but right there to hit the receiver is Whitney Merciless. Capri Bibbs out of the backfield, and another timeout called, and it is Washington's final timeout here in the first half. So there have been a couple of swings of momentum here in the first half for both these guys.
Yeah, it has, and Jay Gruden on that play call just trying to set up the screen, hoping he could get a a chunk of 15, 20, 25 yards. See if you can't catch them in a blitz, or if you catch them in a soft zone, that you can get a big chunk of yardage back. And the Texans not falling for it, and that's why they had to use up their last time out. So now with 21 seconds, if you do throw it in the field of play, you need to get a big chunk of yardage and get everybody down there to spike it. Otherwise, you got to get out of bounds.
Got him to jump. Penalties fly. Penalty markers fly. Both Clowney and Watt were coming hard.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense, number 99. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
And there were members of both teams raving about J.J. Watt's play and how he has come back from that injury.
Well, and he's one of the players involved in this game that has a chance at NFL Comeback Player of the Year. But he hasn't slowed down after dealing with 2 years of injuries.
Going to go deep down the sideline. Incomplete. Intended for Maurice Harris, covered by Sharice Wright. And 14 seconds remain on the clock.
Well, the fans not real happy. Think there's a lot of contact here. Watch Sharice Wright gets that left arm into the chest, and there's a push off there by
a push, a shove, a grab.
So yeah, that's a good no call. When you get the hand fighting back and forth, yeah, that's a good no call.
This is 3rd and 5, and over the middle. That is complete, and close to midfield is Trey Quinn.
Well, now you get up here and you get it spiked. Now you can at least take a chance of the end zone.
2, 1, and they did not get it off. Did not get it off before time expired here in the first half.
The end of the half.
Well, and he wasn't spiking it. He was trying to drop back and fire one down there.
So Houston will get the football to start the second half. They've had a pretty good first half. $17-7 is our score. Halftime is next. After these first half highlights from Verizon and a word from your local station. Welcome back to FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. First half statistics show you there isn't much difference between these two teams from the first half of football. Rushing yards only 20 yards different. You see the passing yards, the total yards exactly the same. The penalty yards, but look at the turnovers. Even the turnovers, there's only one difference, but it was a big one. And let's take a look at the gain of the first half. Alex Smith throwing Justin Reed, the rookie, intercepting and returning 101 yards for the touchdown that has given the Houston Texans a 10-point halftime lead at 17-7. Greg Gumbel along with Trent Green. Boy, we hear coaches talk about it all the time. You can't turn the ball over, can't turn the ball over. That's as big as it gets.
Well, and that's why the Washington Redskins are 6-3, because they hadn't been turning the ball over. If you look at the balance, we just showed you the numbers, the balance between these two teams. They both came in at 6-3. They both came in as division leaders, but really the difference is that long interception return. Remember, Watson had the interception where Washington got the ball near midfield, and what happened? The defense was able to hold them out of the end zone, actually forced them to punt. So because of that, think about it. The main difference in that is that long interception return.
Houston getting the ball first here in the second half. DeAndre Carter will not run it out of the end zone. And so the touchback will start the Texans at their own 25-yard line, and here comes Deshaun Watson.
He really only had the one mistake, the interception where he floated the ball down the middle of the field that got tipped and intercepted. But the defense, as I just mentioned, came out and rallied and didn't let Washington move the ball anywhere near scoring position, and they were forced to punt.
So let's see how the Texans come out of the locker room. Play fake, Watson throws, the screen, and here comes Kiki QT. Run out of bounds, and we check in with Melanie downstairs. Mel.
Thank you, Greg. Well, I spoke with both coaches at the half, starting with Bill O'Brien. He said, overall, we just need to execute better. But I asked him about being down to no reserves on the offensive line. He said, yeah, we need to talk about that at the half. They're hoping to get Zach Fulton back in the second half. But if it gets to a situation where they need another guy, he said, look for us to put a tight end in at right guard. Then I spoke to Jay Gruden. He said he's pleased with the way his defense has contained Deshaun Watson, but they have to stop shooting themselves in the foot, Greg.
Melanie, thank you. 2nd and 2, and this is Blue. And Alfred Blue trying to spin his way to a first down is going to still be 2 yards short. It'll be 3rd and 2.
You know, Greg, that's great info that Melanie got for us, because we were sitting up here talking, what happens when all your line, when you're down to nobody left, you put a tight end in and have him play at tackle. So to hear that they'd slide him into guard, that's not a situation you have to be faced with, but now we have that info in case that happens.
How much do you prepare for that in practice?
You don't. Those guys don't get any reps at it. So it's, yeah, you come in with 7 guys that dress on the offensive line, you lose 2 right away.
3rd and 2. Watson on the move, throwing, wide open. He's got his man across the 40, 45, and then some. Jordan Akins, the rookie from Central Florida, for the first down. 14-yard pickup.
Incredible job by Deshaun Watson. It looks like he's going to get sacked. He's getting pressure from both sides, but just sliding over long enough to pick up the first down.
Jordan Akins, the 3rd-round pick this year by Houston. They have 2 rookie tight ends. This is Blue. Blue. To about the 42 of Washington. And that'll be enough for a first down.
Well, we talked about the offensive line, and they have 2 new guys in there at guard. Excellent job of collapsing the defensive front as Kerrigan got upfield, and Blue was able to cut it back with a big first down run.
And first down, Blue. And not much there as this Washington defense tries to make a difference.
Well, and that has been the strength of the Redskins. It has been their defense, offensively not turning the ball over, defensively being very stout in your run defense, taking advantage from a turnover standpoint. But today it's kind of gone the other way. The defense has given up some big runs at times. They've tried putting pressure on. They got caught, and Josh Norman did. Bad timing on that one with the motion.
Watson over the middle still finds his man. No, loose ball is at a fumble. The Redskins think it was a completion and a fumble recovery. DeAndre Hopkins.
You know, Greg, I don't know if he had full control of the ball. I think it was bobbling, and they were fighting for the ball as guys were diving. It'd be interesting to see some other angles at this. It may end up being an interception if it never hits the ground. The ball is still bobbling around. It's up in the air. It still hasn't hit the ground.
Still, wow. It's lost in the middle there somewhere. Hasn't hit the ground yet. We can't see what happened on the other side of Hopkins.
Is that the ball was fumbled and the Redskins recovered. First down.
Well, I don't know if it was.
No, it wasn't a fumble.
There was no possession. Because of that, it's going to be reviewed either way, because all turnovers are reviewed, whether it's considered an interception or a fumble.
Hopkins never has control of the ball. So they will figure it out while we take a timeout and come back to Landover after this. Here's Alex Kemp.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. First down, Washington.
So they are saying that at the bottom of that pile, Washington maintained possession. Let's go to our rules analyst, Gene Steratore. Gene.
The part of the play that confuses me is that the referee announced prior to this review that the ruling on the field was catch fumble. I just did not see a catch in that prior to the ball coming loose. I think what we were reviewing then was, did anyone possess this football as they were all going for it, laying on DeAndre Hopkins' chest?
All right, Gene, hold on 1 second. This is Trey Quinn going around the right side, and he's going to lose yardage on the play. Go ahead, Gene.
And again, going back to that, if he doesn't catch this initially, we don't have a fumble. Then we have to rule on who possessed this football. If it was a simultaneous possession after it was loose there, simultaneous possessions would go to the offense. So for them to come back out and say the ruling on the field stands, what they're saying to us is they ruled that that was a catch and then a fumble, and they couldn't do something to overturn it. I'm having a tough time agreeing with how they've set that up.
All right, Gene, thank you much.
Thanks, Gene. And I agree with you. I think we were all on the same page that didn't look like a possession with a fumble. It either was going to be an incomplete pass, there weren't enough angles confirming that it hit the ground, or it was going to be an interception, but they let the call on the field stand.
Alex Smith going to take off and run for the first down, and he's chased out of bounds on the far side of the field.
So now that Smith ends up getting the first down, excellent run, good coverage downfield. He's able to escape to the pocket and then watches the receivers convert and become blockers. And that gets him past the sticks for the first down. But now Washington has to take advantage of this turnover. We talked about the main difference in this game has been the 100-yard interception return. And Washington's inability to score after the last turnover by Deshaun Watson. So now they've got to go and try and convert this turnover into points to balance this thing back out.
1st and 10 at midfield. Adrian Peterson in the backfield. He's out on the pass pattern, but the pass over the middle is complete to a wide open Jordan Reed for another first down for Washington.
This is one of the first times today that they put Jadeveon Clowney and J.J. Watt on the same side. We talked to Washington how they were going to adjust to that. Jordan Reed goes up and gets a nice little juke move at the line of scrimmage. Merciless not able to get hands on him, and Washington gets another first down.
These little jukes always look like they have no chance of working. That one worked perfectly.
Wide AD! Pass it out! Wide AD! Pass it!
Another first down. Here's Peterson. And J.J. Watt grabbed him as he went by. Pickup of a couple.
Yeah, if Moses maintains that block anymore, it's going to end up being called a holding call. It's interesting how they've been moving Watt around and Clowney. Clowney that time was lined up at a traditional linebacker stand-up spot in an old 4-3 look. They had him standing up, and then at the snap of the ball, he went on a twist behind. So they're trying everything they can to confuse the protection.
On 2nd and 7, quick pass, and that's complete to the near side to Josh Doctson. And he has a first down at the 25-yard line. You know, you look at that defense, Trent. Usually a quarterback has to settle in on one guy that he's got a key on. You've got more than that to look at the Houston.
Well, and you got Merciless also, so you're trying to determine where do we turn the protection to, who do we declare, and you've got Clowney lining up at the end of the line. They got him lining up at defensive end. They have him lining up at stand-up linebacker. It makes it difficult, not only in the pass game. I know I keep going back to the pass game part of it, but even in the run game, it's like, okay, who are we turning to and who are we going to?
This is Peterson. There is some big man football being played in the middle of that line.
That's as strong as Adrian Peterson is. You're not going to move that. That's a lot of weight in there.
DJ Reader, 6'3", 347.
That's a good base. It's a good base.
Base, center of gravity, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Alex Smith going to go down the sideline. It is incomplete. Intended for Doctson and Kareem Jackson covering, so it'll be 3rd and 9.
Texans have done an excellent job today mixing up their coverages, their looks pre-snap, looking middle of the field close with the safety mid. All of a sudden you rotate, you get 2 deep safeties. Tyrann Mathieu has been deep, and that time he ran all the way up over the slot, so I thought he was going to come on a blitz. He ends up stopping and picking up coverage. They're doing an excellent job of mixing things up.
Peter, 2-5.
So Washington looking at a big conversion here on 3rd and 9. Here comes the blitz. And there goes Alex Smith down at the 40-yard line. Kareem Jackson
Alex Smith is down.
Oh.
They came with the blitz. Nobody blocked him up to the front side. See Alex Smith's in a lot of pain right there.
Yeah,
Hands
he
on his
is.
face.
This is what happened to Alex Smith. We'll be back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Kay Jewelers. For all the moments, for love, forever. Domino's. Order online at Domino's.com. And by State Farm. Here to help life go right.
As we welcome you back to Landover, there is Alex Smith being carted off, and you talk about a world of respect as members of both teams coming over to wish Alex well as he was loaded onto the cart to be carted off.
Well, we're not going to, as you see everybody coming up, and just before that, the Texans bench had come over as well. We're not going to show you the replay again. It's a bad lower leg injury, and you can understand why Alex was in the type of pain that he was in, but the respect that was shown to him by both teams.
And so DeAndre Carter with the fair catch, and Houston will now start at about their own 12 or 13 yard line, and quarterbacking duties will now fall to Colt McCoy. And Colt McCoy in his 9th season out of Texas. There you see his career numbers.
That's why you have a veteran guy. A lot of times you bring in you make the trade for Alex Smith and you sign him, and you have a veteran presence just in case something like this happens. But now your defense has to respond as the Texans take the field again.
Lamar Miller close to the 20, and it's we are not in the business of speculating, but from the looks of that injury, we'd be shocked if we saw Alex Smith again this season.
Yeah, it'd be hard to believe that's a quick fix. That's something that unfortunately for Alex and for this team, it looks like he'll be lost for the year.
A devastating blow to this team.
Yep.
2nd and 4. This is Miller again, and Miller pushes his way across the 25 to the 26 and a first down. And remember, this is a Washington team that has been going very well. They lead the NFC East. They're 6-3 on the year. Their nearest pursuers, Dallas and Philadelphia, are at 4-5.
Well, that's the cold part of this business. It's, once something like that happens, you have to regroup. Your defense has to respond. The offense, Colt McCoy, the guys around him, they have to respond. And it's at times, as I said, it can be very cold business, but you have to move forward. They're not going to stop the season. They've got to keep playing the games.
And this is what we're looking at coming into today. Both teams at 6-3. Houston with a 1-game lead on Tennessee, and Washington with a much more comfortable lead. What does an interview like that to a guy like Alex Smith do to the rest of the team?
Well, that's the thing. And, we've talked to the people in the locker room. We talked to the people in that building on Friday, and they said just how Alex Smith, from a leadership standpoint, is a guy that really can take over. Oh, wow.
There's a pick. Preston Smith reached up, tipped it, grabbed it, and Washington is in business deep in Houston territory.
Well, Deshaun Watson comes into today having not thrown an interception in 3 straight games, but that's his 3rd interception of the day. Now, if you're Colt McCoy, you get an opportunity to come in and try and get your team in the end zone. The pressure, they're trying to set up the screen. What an incredible play. Watch as he gets his hand up, tips it in the air. Great athleticism. Deshaun Watson comes over and makes the tackle. He was a little slow getting up off the field. One of those things, was it the mental part of throwing the interception, or did he physically when they got landed on?
So here's Colt McCoy in charge of the Washington offense at the Texans' 13-yard line. Peterson. No, McCoy with the key. Inside the 10 to about the 8-yard line.
they don't have anybody else at quarterback. They don't have anybody else dressed. So, hey, the first play, I'm going to have you outrun J.J. Watt, and then you're going to have Tyrann Mathieu come up and you're going to spin and do a 360. That's a
good luck with that.
Hey, he's going for it.
2nd and 5 as we come up on 5 minutes to play in the third.
I don't know if that was a nervous smile by Jay Gruden there, trying to figure out what he was doing on that one.
McCoy to the end zone. Touchdown! Jordan Reed. Colt McCoy, nice entrance.
First pass, first completion, first touchdown of the season for Colt McCoy.
8-yard touchdown pass. And now Dustin Hopkins to pull Washington to within 3. It is good. 4:47 to play in the third. There's the pick. And Washington turned it into 7 points. 17-14 Houston. Not since the tail end of the 2015 season has Colt McCoy thrown a touchdown pass. This one an 8-yarder. And Deshaun Watson, boy, the interception bug has hit him hard today. No turnovers in the last 3 games, 3 today.
Well, we wondered how the Washington sideline was going to respond after that ugly injury to Alex Smith, and the defense coming up with a big interception. Colt McCoy coming in right away, first pass, touchdown.
DeAndre Carter is deep, and he will not return this one. This will fly through the end zone for the touchback. And Super Bowl 22, Doug Williams and Washington took on John Elway and the Denver Broncos. Williams threw 4 second-quarter TD passes. Washington won it 42-10. Doug Williams was named Super Bowl MVP, became the first African-American starting quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Doug Williams in the Ring of Fame here. Doug Williams in attendance.
That was an incredible Super Bowl. I remember watching that game. They put those 4 touchdown passes in 1 quarter.
Watson to the 30, and Kiki Kuti with lots more, still on his feet. And finally brought down at the 35-yard line. Greg Stroman, Clinton Dix. But that is a 40-yard pickup.
Greg, think about the emotional roller coaster of this game we've had. The Texans come out, they score their first 2 possessions, go up 10-0. Washington goes down, makes it 10-7. They got a chance to go and tie it or take the lead, and then the 100-yard interception happens, and then the way the half ended with the missed field goal and crazy way to end the half. And now we come out with the injury to Alex Smith, Colt McCoy. Smith gets the interception, McCoy throws the touch. This is just, I'm out of breath trying to explain everything that's happened, and then QT comes out with a big gain on first down.
Take a breath. Here's Watson, and Watson running out of bounds. Let's check in with Melanie.
Well, Greg, an injury update on Alex Smith. He was brought into the tunnel on the cart and was helped into the x-ray room where he was very visibly in a ton of pain. He spent about 10 minutes in there. They're calling it an ankle injury. He's out for this game, obviously. He was just loaded into the ambulance by Prince George's County EMS and is being taken to a nearby hospital. So a devastating loss for Washington. I'm told now the backup quarterback is either Trey Quinn or Jordan Reed. Both played quarterback in high school, Greg.
All right, Melanie, thank you much. 2nd and 4. This is Miller. And he'll be about 2 yards short of a first down.
I don't think that's a conversation you want to have. You want to go up to Trey Quinn and say, hey, I know you played high school quarterback. Now it's the NFL and you got to go with it. That's not a good situation.
You mean the recently activated
yes,
Trey Quinn
yes,
too?
Yeah, that's a whole different world here. We got a big 3rd down here for the Texans.
3rd and 2. Watson throwing, tipped, incomplete.
I think they're going to get There's a flag down, and Watson's still down.
Right in the middle of the field.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense, number 94. Half the distance to the goal line, automatic first down, Houston.
Preston Smith guilty of the penalty. Zach Brown was the one who was tipping that pass.
Smith coming off the edge. Let's see if he finishes. That's the big thing now. So the weight on top of the quarterback, that was the difference. If you had thrown him down and landed to the side, I don't think that's a penalty, but because of the emphasis on the rule that's implemented this year, you can't land with your body weight on top of the quarterback, that being the penalty.
Keeps the drive alive at the 13-yard line. Miller trying to dip outside, tripped up forward to about the 11. Stacy McGee making the stop. And we come up to 2:40 to play here in the third. You're right, Trent. The ebb and flow of this game has been drastic from one moment to the next.
Yeah, and we thought we were going to have a good game coming into today because both teams 6-3, leading the division. Both teams are finding ways to win football games. And but man, this has been something else what we've seen here in the first almost 3 quarters.
Play fake to Miller. Watson throwing, end zone, and complete. Pass intended for Demaryius Thomas, and we have a flag down. First time today we've mentioned Demaryius Thomas.
Holding. Defense, number 24. 5-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Josh Norman is saying no. The officials say yes.
Well, he's one-on-one with DeAndre. Oh, he was falling down, so he's like, I'm not going to let you go clean on your own. So you can see a handful of jersey, and he pulls him down from behind. That was an easy call.
How can Josh say no?
As soon as you see that stumble, it's like, well, I'm either going to let him run free all the way across the field, or you got to tug and hope you get away with it. And he didn't get away with it.
DeAndre Hopkins draws more penalties than any other receiver in the NFL. That's the 11th he's drawn this season. First and goal. From the 6, Watson throwing and hit Lamar Miller in the back of the head.
You know, Deshaun Watson's telling him to look quick, but watch with the pressure. Just as he steps, a quick little, he's got to get rid of the football. Ioannidis, we really haven't talked about him much today. He came into this game 7.5 sacks, leading Washington in sacks, but that time able to get pressure. Watson threw that ball before the receiver was ready.
Second and goal. Watson under pressure, going down, back at the 15-yard line. That's Ryan Kerrigan.
Kerrigan's going to come off the edge. He just uses the speed to come around. They try and get some misdirection in the backfield. Watch a quick fake here, a quick fake there. Kerrigan not falling for it. I thought Watson was going to be able to sneak out of that, but Kerrigan hangs on and brings him down for the sack, bringing up a 3rd and goal from the 15.
Watson got rid of it, had to get rid of it in a hurry under pressure intended for QT, but falls well short of its intended target.
Well, considering it was first and goal down around the 5-yard line, and they forced them into a field goal, that's a heck of a stop for the defense. I know the Texans were able to move the ball down the field, but once you get first and goal, great response, and now the Texans have to settle for a field goal attempt.
Fairbairn from 33 yards. And it is good. Holding Houston to a field goal. We have a penalty marker down on the field.
Offside. Defense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 4th down. Yeah, the field goal was good. Penalty is declined. Timeout.
So that's where we stand. And by holding Houston to a field goal, it still stays a one-possession game. Oh, nice pictures here on Tuesday. Jadeveon Clowney, Jonathan Joseph, and other members of the Texans organization celebrated Friendsgiving by helping the Harris family, whose home caught fire earlier this year. The Texans joined with Palais Royal, gifting the family a shopping spree to help replace some of their lost items. That's not only nice, that's great. This returnable from the 6-yard line is Danny Johnson. Johnson with a head of speed and up over with 30 and close to the 35-yard line. Hey, the SEC on CBS features some great Thanksgiving weekend football. Friday, Arkansas takes on Missouri. Saturday, the 83rd Iron Bowl. Auburn battles the number 1 team in the country, Alabama.
Well, this is what I want to see coming out of this now is how Colt McCoy responds. You come in, it's the emotion of getting in a game. He really hasn't played significant time in 2.5 seasons or more. So when you consider now he's got to go in and settle down. He's got over a quarter to play. You're dealing with one of the best defenses in the NFL. How does he respond?
McCoy, quick pass, near side. That's complete to Doxson. And Doxson breaking away from Sharice Wright. That'll be a first down at the 45.
Excellent read and recognition by McCoy. Understanding he had an off corner with a hitch. Just keep it simple. You don't have to worry about the pass rush when you're getting rid of the ball that fast.
Seems to me, Trent, that you can look at all of the X's and O's and how everything looks on paper. The one intangible you really can't tell how it's going to affect anyone, both sides, is injury.
Injury, how are you going to respond? And the Texans have responded. We've talked about the injuries on the Washington offensive line. Well, the Texans offensive line losing 2 guards today. They've responded well as those guys getting opportunities.
McCoy with the quick pass to Jordan Reed. I think we can safely say that Jordan Reed is Colt McCoy's favorite receiver so far today.
Well, and he was Alex Smith's favorite receiver too, and he caught a lot of balls from Kirk Cousins over the years as well. So it's a smart choice by those guys.
McCoy rolling and going to run it and diving for the first down. Looks like he'll be just short of the 45-yard line, and that'll bring us to the end of 3 with the score. Houston 20, Washington 14. Back for the 4th after this. Along with our producer, Ken Mack, our director, Suzanne Smith, Greg Gumbel, Trent Green, Melanie Collins, and the rest of our CBS Sports crew here in Landover, Maryland, as we get to start the 4th, 20-14. Houston in the lead. And a huge 3rd and 1 for Washington.
180!
Play fake to Peterson. The pass down the sideline, incomplete. Intended for Doxson, covered by Sharice Wright.
Well, what that tells me is they had it predetermined they were going for it on 4th down. They said, let's find out if we can get a play fake to Adrian Peterson. We get the defense to bite up on it. We take a chance at a big play. Now you come back on 4th down, and you would think AP up the middle, but I think a lot of people in the stands are surprised with that play action on 3rd. But I think that's a predetermined thing. Hey, we're going to go for it on 4th. And let's give it a shot, see if we can't catch him.
Number 52, Ryan Anderson, has come in to block up front.
180!
McCoy keeps it around the left side, has the first down, and down at the 40-yard line.
How about it? I like it. I like the call, Jay Gruden. That's everybody in the building thought it was AP right up the middle. Clowney collapses from the outside. He's got the edge. He collapses down. Jonathan Joseph's kind of the safety back there, making sure McCoy with the smart decision getting down.
There was a gathering of Houston Texans in the middle of the field. Colt McCoy was going the other way. First down.
180!
From the 41 here is Peterson. Tough going in the middle of that lineup. Jadeveon Clowney with the stop.
When he had that fumble earlier in the game, you see how tightly he was holding that ball to his chest? That thing wasn't swinging around at all. He was good ball security on that one.
2nd and 7, McCoy throwing to the sideline. It is caught by Dotson. And McCoy right on the money with his throws so far.
I thought this ball was going to be knocked down. Jackson's right in position to knock it down. Dotson's able to bring it in.
He was right there, wasn't he? Right in front of him.
You can't say enough. Colt McCoy doesn't get reps at his offense. With only 2 quarterbacks, I mean, he's running the scout team. He's doing that. He may get a few snaps, but the fact to come in and, you know, run the offense the way he is, it's impressive at this point.
McCoy going to go deep again down the sideline, incomplete. Dotson calling for help via the penalty flag. None thrown. Sharice Wright was covering.
Can't fault McCoy for not taking some shots. He's getting some man-to-man, and that 3rd or 4th time he started throwing it up the field.
Colt McCoy filling in for the injured Alex Smith. Had a jump on the near side. McCoy throws, and that's complete inside the 20. And Trey Quinn on the receiving end.
Well, they're going to get merciless with being in the neutral zone.
Offside. Defense, number 59. 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
You know, this Washington team missing Alex Smith with what looked to be a devastating injury. Joe Theismann suffered one of those devastating injuries, and it's 33 years ago today that Theismann broke his leg against the New York Giants. November 18, 1985. Joe stopped by at halftime and said hello.
It was good to see him.
It was his usual dull, droll self. One of the happier human beings on the planet. 2nd and 5.
Yes, sir.
Rhino, touch.
McCoy gonna keep it, get outside, 15, 10, and pushed out of bounds. Benardrick McKinney pushed him out. It'll be 1st and goal.
I've just been impressed by the composure that Colt McCoy is showing. Look at the heat that they're applying. He steps up in the pocket, is able to avoid Merciless, who gets around the edge. Watch that. Merciless has a clean shot on him. McCoy slides up in the pocket and with the speed picks up the 1st down, gets it inside the 10.
Three tight ends onto the field now for Washington.
We're good. 180. Push it.
Peterson outside to the end zone. Touchdown. Career rushing touchdown number 105.
He had the touchdown earlier that was the jump cut and went to go inside, and this is very similar. He comes inside, Clowney comes down, gets pinned, he gets around to the outside, and he still has the speed to get to the end zone. I know I've stressed it a bunch during this game, but Greg, it's impressive what he's able to do at 33 years old, just getting it done.
He's doing everything the young'uns are doing. Extra point is good. 11:57 to play in regulation. First lead change of the season for Washington, 21-20. Trent, that may well qualify as the strangest statistic you'll see in a number of seasons. The first lead change this season for Washington.
This deep into the season, I'm up here just shaking my head. I think that's not possible, right? So you could have a game where you score a field goal and the other team gets a touchdown, and you get a however, vice versa.
And that's a
you know,
lead
back,
change.
and it's like that's a lead change. You're saying that's
not happening.
That's incredible.
This one's short. DeAndre Carter on the run at the 10-yard line. 25 and down at about the 27-yard line in a heap. Well, Colt McCoy was called on and has answered the call in the absence of Alex Smith.
Well, you wonder how you're going to respond when you have to come in the game cold. First thing he does is first pass, throws the touchdown. Fourth down, he keeps it after faking to AP, gets the first down. Then Merciless has a clean shot. 4 carries for 27 yards rushing and 4 of 6 passing for 38 yards and a touchdown. Impressive what McCoy's been able to do.
Now Houston at the low end of the scoreboard for the first time today. This is Kuti, and he's wrestled down at about the 30-yard line by Mason Foster. And Trent, if there was ever a perfect reason why backup quarterbacks should pay attention at practice, know the game plan, know what they have to do just in case, Colt McCoy.
And really as the backup, it's more of a mental preparation than anything, because you're not going to get the reps. You're running the scout team. You may get a few snaps, but it's watching film, being prepared, knowing what the game plan is, and then when you get that opportunity to execute.
The pass over the middle, that's Hopkins. Hopkins shakes off one tackler and falls across the 40 to the 41 for a first down. So I mentioned a few minutes ago, they have not yet made much use of Demaryius Thomas. You mentioned he had just 3 catches last week.
Right. And I thought they would utilize him more. You know, the last game he had the 3 catches. It was against Denver. It was when he first got to the team, and then they had the bye week. And I'm thinking, coming off the bye week, they're really going to spend some time, or he's going to spend some time getting to know this offense better. So I really do think he'd be a bigger part today.
This is Alfred Blue, and Blue across the 45 to about maybe the 47-yard line. Remind you, coming up, the State Farm postgame show. JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, Coach Bill Cowher. All the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the State Farm postgame show. Yeah, going back for just 1 second, Demaryius Thomas does not have a reception today.
Well, they made the trade to bring him over from Denver after the injury to Will Fuller. As I said, I thought he'd be more involved, and there's still obviously plenty of game to go as Blue is going to get the first down and more.
Blue turns the corner and is inside the Washington 40 to the 37-yard line.
Well, we showed you a few times how Adrian Peterson was able to get to the edge. This time, Alfred Blue's doing the same thing, getting to the outside as Foster gets chipped to the inside. He can't get back outside, and Blue has a good lane to get around to.
See, Demaryius Thomas checks back into the lineup. DeAndre Hopkins was telling us he learned his route, a particular route, from watching Demaryius Thomas. On first down, this is Blue. Tries the right side, is going to get stopped. It'll be 2nd and 10. He said he was trying to figure out a route, and he said one of his favorite routes was one that Demaryius Thomas ran, and he said he watched him and he watched him and he watched him and he worked on it. And of course, we said, tell us. He goes, I can't tell you that.
Like, we want to showcase it. Yeah. We want to put it on there. No, can't do it.
On 2nd and 10, Watson throwing, incomplete. In and out of the hands of T at the 30-yard line. 3rd and 10.
Well, you knew this was going to be tight because of how hard Deshaun Watson threw the ball. He was trying to fire it in there in between coverage. A little bit low, you can see as it goes off the knee, and QT pays for it.
That's the coach's approach, right? You're going to get hit hard, you
right.
might as well catch it.
You might as well catch it. Big 3rd down as you hear the crowd getting into it.
And a timeout. And this timeout, courtesy of Washington. Well, Guess what's coming up this week? The tradition continues. Thanksgiving Day with football on CBS, featuring a great rivalry between the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions. Kick off your day with family and football with the NFL Today at 12 Eastern Time on CBS. You ever seen in studio the NFL Today on Thanksgiving? There'll be food wall to wall in there.
I tell you, that's a game I'm going to be watching. Chicago has gotten hot. They really have. They've gotten hot, and it's been fun to watch.
3rd and 10. Quick pass, Hopkins inside a block across the 30, and here's a penalty flag. Going to go against the Texans. You push them back out of field goal range, right, Jim?
I think so. Because you try and...
Illegal block in the back. Offense number 70. 10-yard penalty. Replay 3rd down.
Julian Davenport, the left tackle.
Davenport came out. He was going to try and make the block. As you see him come up, I believe it's Norman. Then he's coming to get the block on, or Norman's the one trailing it. Just hits him in the back, and you got to move him back because otherwise, let's say you don't, it's 4th down. They're either going to go for it on 4th from where the ball was located or try a 50-yard field goal. Now you're pushing them back, and you're hoping you can keep them out of field goal range.
3rd and 20. And Alex Kemp is going to check with a fellow official about something.
The officials went up to HaHa Clinton Dix, and they're telling him you must have been word from the, as you were talking about, Greg, the word safety issue. Must have recognized something up in the booth, so they're going to have to get a quick evaluation on a critical 3rd down.
At a very critical time. So the Texans need the 27-yard line for a 1st down.
Well, and Washington has 4 defenders lined up about 13, 14 yards from the ball.
Watson throws off to the side. That is complete. This is Jordan Thomas, and Thomas brought down at about the 35-yard line.
They're going to go for the field goal here. This would be what, about a 54-yarder? Got to remember, he missed one earlier. He pulled it left.
Line of scrimmage is the 36. He's going to line this was up from 54 yards out. He has a career long of 55. Fairbairn for the lead. And he got it. Clutch kick by Kaimi Fairbairn. Guess what? There's another lead change. Houston leads at 23-21.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Corona Extra. Find your beach. Verizon. The best unlimited is on Verizon, America's most awarded network. And by FedEx. Possibilities. What we deliver by delivering.
Little glimpse of what happened here at halftime. Bobby Beathard honored, and rightly so. What a career he's had, and headed for the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Incredible career Bobby Beathard put together. Very well deserving getting in the Hall of Fame.
And this will not be run out, and Washington will start from its own 25-yard line. You know, we were talking earlier with the injury to Alex Smith, all the ex-quarterbacks in the house. Mark Rippon is here. Joe Theismann, Doug Williams, Trent Green.
Sonny Jurgensen.
Sonny Jurgensen.
Sonny Jurgensen still does the home radio games, so it's good to catch up and see a lot of guys walking around here on alumni weekend.
There's Sonny Jurgensen. You were the only one who wasn't loosening up.
55. You're good.
Meanwhile, it's Colt McCoy at the helm. Give it to Peterson. Peterson to the outside. And the man is strong. As strong as they come.
He loves that jump cut. Let's get back to it. Here we go. Let's hand it off inside. Oh, there's nowhere to go. Let me jump the outside because Jackson took a bad angle and got pinned to the inside.
Now Washington has touchdowns on each of its last 2 drives. Find themselves down 2, 7:16 to play here in the 4th.
Easy.
Peterson looking for running room. Across the 35 to the 36-yard line and a first down.
Well, and that's just great recognition by AP. Understand if he just keeps extending that to the sideline, he's not going to have a chance to get the first down. He recognizes there's a crease to the inside, lowers his head and his shoulders, and is able to cross over the 35.
And with 51 yards rushing today, Adrian Peterson 1 yard shy of 13,000 for his career. McCoy from behind, brought down by J.J. Watt. It'll be 2nd and 14.
J.J. Watt with the constant pressure, just coming around the edge. Just the consistency of the pursuit. I thought that Colt McCoy could have gotten rid of the ball quickly on a quick dump off to Jordan Reed. He would have gotten 5-6 yards. He was looking up the field a little bit further, and with that slight hesitation, that gives Watt time to make that sack.
A combination of he and Clowney, you know someone's coming. Boy, no pass, scooped up by Jordan Reed.
When you wonder from a play calling standpoint, Greg, sorry to jump in there, it's just, you know, you go in and you know, here's my set plays, I'm going with my starter that's gotten all the reps. What do you do with a backup quarterback? Okay, you have a set number of plays you talk with that player about. Generally, you say, hey, give me 5 or 10 pass plays that you like. But now you get to these situational football, so 3rd and long. Which one is Colt McCoy most comfortable with?
Under pressure, and he goes down again. Back at the 27-yard line, this time hit by Jadeveon Clowney.
We talked about how they utilize Clowney moving around different spots. This time he's standing up in the middle. He's going to come through. Watt gets to the outside, which causes McCoy to step up, and he steps up right into Clowney as he gets the sack.
Trent, as a quarterback, you don't know which way to look.
When you have 2 guys like that, that's tough, especially when you got your offensive line and a bunch of guys in one-on-one protection across the board.
This one bounces out of bounds short. Meanwhile, Colt McCoy brought to a halt. Coming up, the State Farm postgame show. JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, Coach Cowher have lots to tell you, lots to show you. All the scores and highlights coming up on the State Farm postgame show. That Washington run defense came into the game 5th in the NFL, allowing 91 yards a game. They've given up 127 on the ground. And a couple more here is Lamar Miller to the 45. We go to New York. JB and Phil.
Dallas closing seconds.
Yeah, closing seconds. Brett Maher, 42 yards away, just sneaks it inside the upright, and the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones excited. They win 22-19 over the Atlanta Falcons. Back to Greg, Trent, and Melanie.
All right, guys, thank you. Just squeaking it just inside is right. On a particular note here in Washington. Dallas moves to 5-5 on the year. Watson to throw. Down the sideline, contact on the far side of the field. No flag. Demaryius Thomas, the intended receiver. Demaryius Thomas gets involved today for the first time.
Well, you mentioned Dallas sneaking that field goal in to get the win, just trying to keep pace with Washington. And That's why how this thing wraps up. This division's going to go like it seems to every year, go right down to the final couple games of the season to determine who's going to win it. As a big third down here as the crowd responds.
I'll say 3rd and 7 with 3:51 to play. Houston's 3 for 9 on 3rd down conversions today. Watson got his man coming across the middle. That's Lamar Miller, and Miller has a first down inside the Washington 45.
Lamar Miller just going to run a drag. He sneaks out to the right, and watch, he crosses underneath in man-to-man coverage and able to get that separation. Clinton Dix, fortunate that he's able to bring him down. He doesn't bring him down. There's nobody down that sideline. Big first down conversion for the Texans.
So Houston at the 42. Houston, all 3 of their timeouts remaining. Washington has 2. Miller. Maybe a 1-yard pickup. It'll be 2nd and 9. We're under 3 minutes to play.
Well, this is what you have to decide if you're Greg Manowski. As defensive coordinator, do you start pressuring even more and you leave yourself susceptible to giving up a bigger play, but you also don't want them to get in the field goal range? Because right now, a field goal would win it if the Redskins get the ball back and go down. And a field goal all of a sudden by the Texans forces you to have to get a touchdown. So it'll be interesting from a play calling standpoint how that factors in trying to keep the Texans out of scoring range.
2:25 to play, 2nd and 9. Miller to about the 37, and that'll make it about a 3rd and 5.
That was, I thought they were going to snap the ball and get an easy 5 yards, but nobody for the Texans moved.
And Washington is going to let this go down to the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes to play. Yeah, we do have the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes to play, 23-21. Houston, we're back after this.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Bud Light, reminding you not to drink and ride your horse. And by USAA, official NFL salute to service partner.
Welcome back to Landover. Those of you who have been with us, those of you just joining us. 23-21, Houston. Washington needing a stop. Down 2 with 2 minutes to play. Deshaun Watson gonna throw for it. Scrambling. And brought down at the 35-yard line. And we have a penalty marker down on the far side of the field.
Timeout, Washington. Their 2nd of the half.
So Washington calls a timeout.
Well, that was because the official didn't know on the far side there's that flag. They're going to get Josh Norman with a hold on DeAndre Hopkins. That's going to give the Texans a first down, and critical because now Washington is going to have to use their timeouts. And
while the quarterback still had the ball, holding, defense number 24. That's a 5-yard penalty. Automatic first down for Houston. There is no charge timeout for Washington.
So Washington still has its 2 timeouts. Here's the penalty, Trent.
Trying to get an out route. Did they? I didn't see it. I don't understand. Look how mad he is. He should be mad. The only thing you saw was the jersey pull at the end, but by that point, Deshaun was on the other side of the field running the other direction and was completely out of it. So, that's critical because Washington would have had an opportunity to get the ball back. Now, the Texans, not only are going to be able to make Washington use up their timeouts, but they could potentially run out the clock if they're able to get another first down.
It has been an eventful game in so many ways. Miller wrapped up. at the 32 or 33 yard line. Those of you who just joined us, well, here's the bullet to DeAndre Hopkins. And the interception by Justin Reed of Alex Smith, a 101-yard touchdown. Alex Smith left the game with a devastating ankle injury. And on came Colt McCoy through a touchdown pass. We are at 23-21. We've seen Adrian Peterson with 2 rushing touchdowns to become number 6 all-time in the NFL in that department.
We've had an exciting game. It's been a back-and-forth battle and very 2 evenly matched up teams coming into this. We thought it was going to be a good game, and it's lived up to it.
2nd and 11. Washington can only stop the clock once more. Miller inside the 30 to the 29. And there's the timeout. So Washington uses its 3rd and final timeout with 1:41 to play.
So there's 2 train of thought here. You run the ball, keep the clock moving. If you don't get the first down, if you get the first down, the game's over. Either way, run or pass. But if you run the ball, you keep the clock moving, there's no more timeouts. You know you're going to have to attempt the field goal. So at the most, Washington's going to have about 50 seconds left, right in that neighborhood.
With no timeouts.
With no timeouts. Or do you throw the ball and try and pick up the first down? You get the incompletion, then you give them an extra 35 seconds. I run the ball. Try and give them as little time as possible. Use up the time is so valuable right now. Take time off.
Lamar Miller behind Watson. 3rd and 8. Miller, right side. Not going to get the first down. Brought to a halt at about the 27-yard line. So it'll leave him a 4th and 5. Clock continues to move, coming up on 1:25.
Well, and the Texans, they'll take it all the way down to 1 second, call timeout. Instead of trying to time it out perfect and everything, get their guys set, get everything aligned properly. And going on the assumption that he ends up making the field goal, Washington in response is going to have to get a touchdown. They can't settle for a field goal.
Well, you saw Fairbairn there loosening up on the far side of the field, but Deshaun Watson's also still on the field on the far side at the 35-yard line. And now Houston uses a timeout. 56 seconds to play. Houston trying to win number 7 in a row. That would tie a franchise record set back in 2011.
See, Fairbairn had the big make at 54 yards a little bit earlier, and then but had a miss earlier in the game at 44. Both going in this same direction.
So this is a 45-yard attempt by Fairbairn. If you're Washington, you don't want to jump offside.
That would end the game.
Missed it. Missed it badly to the right. And Washington has life.
Wow, that was an ugly miss. You almost have to think that his foot slipped or something. I mean, the one that he missed earlier, he hit solid. He just had a little bit too much draw on, and he pulled it left. Now all of a sudden, Washington has life. They really only need to move at about 30, 35 yards. It doesn't look like anything crazy happened with his plant foot or with the execution of the snap and hold. But now all of a sudden, you're Washington. You need to move it down and get in the field goal range. You have to remember Washington's kicker, Dustin Hopkins, was dealing with an injury all week, and they had thought about having to sign somebody to bring him in. So the closer, the better for Hopkins.
Colt McCoy pulls it down on the run. Pulled down right at the first down marker at the 45-yard line. Clock continues to move. 35 seconds. And he spikes the ball. So it'll be 3rd and 1. Colt McCoy last engineered a game-winning drive at Dallas in October of 2014.
Well, with 33 seconds, you can still utilize the whole field. If you're going to take the middle, you've got to get a big chunk of change or do a shorter one that's going to get out of bounds.
McCoy got his man. Down at the 45-yard line is Trey Quinn. They hustle to the line of scrimmage. New set of downs. 20 seconds to play. And they stop the clock with the spike. So they draw ever closer to a possible game-winning field goal.
And I love Trey Quinn understanding the game situation. A lot of time as a young player, he just was activated. He's to the roster. He's getting his first catches of the day. He understood what was going on in the game, and he needed to get down instead of wasting time and fighting for extra yards. He got down so they could spike it and save time.
McCoy throwing it this side and underthrows drastically his intended receiver, Michael Floyd. Now Hopkins has a season long of 56 yards, and he's hit from 53 twice. And as you see there, Washington needs the 38-yard line to give him a shot from 56.
Well, it's third down here, so you need to either pick up the first down or get out of bounds because you can't run up and spike it on fourth down. Got to have the field goal unit ready on the field if they got to get out. He's taking a shot.
Going deep down the far sideline. Incomplete. Intended for Dotson.
Well, now you have to get out of bounds. You either have to get it into the end zone or get out of bounds, and you have to get the first down. So there's several factors coming in here, as you see. Nearly intercepted.
Justin Reed just airborne.
Fans are looking for an interference call. So three things. You have to get the first down, and you have to get out of bounds, or you need to get in the end zone. Not enough time with 8 seconds to get a first down and go up and spike it.
4th and 10 and no timeouts remaining. And Houston calls timeout, uses their second of the game. I'm kind of surprised they called the timeout, right?
Well, maybe
the play clock about to expire.
Yeah, it's
and would have moved Washington back a few more yards.
They just wanted everybody communicating, everybody on the same page, and I know it gives Washington a little bit extra time to get things squared away. But as a defense, whatever it was, they wanted to make sure Romeo Crennel, they wanted to know.
And now Dustin Hopkins is going to come out and attempt what would be a 63-yard field goal. 63. He has a long of 56 this season. So Dustin Hopkins, 5th year out of Florida State for the win. About 5 yards short in the end zone.
Well, the Texans better get off the field. There's still 3 seconds left in this game.
That's what Bill O'Brien is saying. You know, Hopkins had that one straight and true.
That's a long way, though. That's
so the celebration, DeAndre Hopkins and his fellow Texans, has begun on the far sideline.
Well, and win number 7 in a row for the Texans. Showed a little bit earlier. Dallas getting the win today to get to 5-5, and now
Houston will move to 7-3. And this 7th straight win ties the longest streak in franchise history. Houston a winner by a score of 23-21. For Trent, for Melanie, for all of us here in Washington. Back to JB in New York.